A stark and desperate new reality appears to be setting in for Kyiv, as multiple diplomatic and unofficial channels indicate that the Ukrainian government is urgently seeking to negotiate a ceasefire with Russia before the end of the year. This represents a dramatic and painful reversal of its long-held public stance of fighting until every inch of its territory is liberated. The shift is being driven by a catastrophic convergence of military and logistical setbacks that have left the Ukrainian armed force in their most precarious position since the opening weeks of the war. According to sources familiar with the thinking in Kyiv, the government now believes that a temporary halt in hostilities, even on unfavorable terms, is essential to prevent a complete collapse of its front line and preserve the existence of the Ukrainian state. The primary catalyst for this desperation is the near-total disruption of its western supply lifeline following the devastating attack in Rzeszów, Poland. That act of sabotage has created a logistical nightmare, choking off the steady flow of ammunition, heavy equipment, and spare parts that Ukraine's military fundamentally depends on to function. Field commanders are reportedly rationing artillery shells at an alarming rate, and armored units are being forced to curtail operations due to fuel shortage and an inability to repair damaged vehicles. Without a secure and high-volume land route for supplies, the Ukrainian military cannot sustain high-intensity combat operations against a Russian army that continues to press its advantage across the front. This logistical crisis has been compounded by severe blows to Ukraine's command structure and morale. The confirmed killing of its highly effective intelligence chief has not only removed a brilliant strategic mind, but has also demonstrated a frightening new Russian capability to strike at Ukraine's most protected command center. The subsequent dismissal of the defense minister has added to a sense of chaos and instability at the top, leaving soldiers on the front line feeling increasingly vulnerable and disconnected from their leadership. The combination of dwindling supplies and leadership turmoils has reportedly led to a sharp decline in morale, making it difficult to mount effective counterattacks or even hold defensive positions against determined Russian assaults. This grim reality has been felt most acutely on the battlefield. Russian forces, sensing weakness, have intensified their offensive in the Donbass and are reportedly making significant territorial gains in the south, threatening to cut off key Ukrainian formation. The Ukrainian military, exhausted by years of fighting and now starved of resources, is struggling to contain these advances. The calculus in Kyiv has shifted from how to win the war to how to survive it. A ceasefire, as one European diplomat noted, is no longer a strategic choice for Ukraine, but a matter of sheer necessity to avert a rout. The goal would be to freeze the conflict lines where they are, giving the Ukrainian army a desperately needed chance to rest, rearm, and reorganize. The signals from Kyiv have been received with a mix of cautious pragmatism and alarm in Washington. President Donald Trump, who has often expressed a desire to end endless wars, is said to be open to the idea of a negotiated settlement. His administration sees a potential ceasefire as a way to halt the immense financial costs of supporting Ukraine and to stabilize a dangerously escalating situation in Europe. The president believes a deal, even an imperfect one, is preferable to the risk of a direct NATO conflict with Russia or total Ukrainian defeat, which would be a major strategic blow to American credibility. This perspective is shaping the diplomatic approach led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Secretary Rubio has reportedly been in quiet consultations with allied nations and neutral intermediaries to explore what a potential ceasefire framework might look like. His public messaging has been careful, avoiding any language that suggests Ukraine is being pressured to surrender. Instead, he speaks of finding a path to a just and durable peace, but emphasized that any negotiations must be led by the Ukrainians themselves. Privately, his department is working to manage the anxieties of Eastern European allies, like Poland and the Baltic states, who fear that a ceasefire will simply reward Russian aggression and set a dangerous precedent. The military assessment from the Pentagon reinforces the grim picture. Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth has provided the president with a stark analysis of Ukraine's deteriorating military position. It is understood that his advice is that without a dramatic and immediate restoration of its supply lines, which is not feasible in the short term, the Ukrainian army faces the prospect of cascading failures along the front. From a military perspective, a ceasefire would lock in the current lines and prevent Russia from capturing even more strategically important territory, giving the US and its allies time to devise a new long-term strategy for supporting a partitioned but still viable Ukrainian state. Russia, aware of its dominant position, is reacting to the ceasefire fillers with confidence. Moscow has publicly stated it is open to talks, but has made it clear that any negotiation must reflect the new realities on the ground. This is understood to be a demand for Ukraine to formally cede the territories Russia currently occupies, including Crimea and the Donbass, and to accept permanent neutrality. Moscow is in no rush, likely planning to continue its military offensive to maximize its leverage before any serious negotiation begin. For Ukraine, the race is on to secure a pause in the fighting before the harsh winter sets in, a season that would be especially brutal for an army with broken supply lines, and before its position on the battlefield weakens even further. Many of my listeners, like 70%, haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, and so many of you don't even know that you haven't subscribed, and that is actually what makes the show going. It's almost like you're making a donation to the show, so that's why I ask again and again, because it enables us to grow and grow and grow. And we're going for the long haul here. And listen, if this is your first time listening to So Cambridge, you don't have to subscribe. You guys, you're first ones on me. But if you have watched the show before, it's like you are a freeloader now. So all I would ask you is, if you have seen this show before and you like it, help me, help my team here. Hit that subscribe and like button now, and we will continue to build this show for you. That I swear. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. That's all for me for today. I will see you soon. Bye for now.